where software quality lives, breathes, and keeps evolving.
Welcome to the Quality Beat, Nagaro's podcast, where we explore the world of quality engineering and digital assurance. I'm your host, Gurpreet, and today's episode is especially exciting as we'll be talking about Temenos Testing and Testing as a Service, two topics that are reshaping how banks deliver quality in an era of constant change. Joining me from sunny Australia are two of Nagaro's experts in this space, Alok Sharma and Charu Kapil. Both have been working closely with leading banks on their Temenos journeys, and today they'll share not only their expertise, but also their vision for the future of testing. So, welcome to the show, Alok and Charu.
Thank you,
Thank
Gurpreet.
you so
Thanks
much.
for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here.
Excited to have you here. And so before we get into Temenos and testing, right, we like to kind of start with something a little personal. So tell me, what makes your heartbeat faster?
Uh, well, for me personally, I am into modifying cars. I have a old 2013 Mazda, which I have been modifying for quite some time, making changes to it. So any new idea makes my heartbeat faster. So I don't know how much money I have spent on it. I hope my wife is not watching this podcast. So at personal level, that is what excites me. I'll make my heartbeat faster. Professionally, there have been many instances which I can recall, but once we were doing a renovation or I would say automation of the annual statements for a super customer in Australia, and when I asked them that how many members would be impacted because of this, they said 2 million. That
Wow.
was a thing, yeah. I mean, you're doing something that will improve the lives of 2 million people. That is again something that, makes your heart beat faster.
I can imagine that's a certain level of pressure.
Yeah, that is, but you know what? That is quite exciting as well. I mean, you end up challenging yourself, you feel that kind of responsibility, and at some point I also take some pride in that there are people who are relying on us, that we can kind of deliver that kind of value.
Absolutely. And being able to make real change there and see
Yeah,
how that impacts people.
absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And Charu, how about yourself?
Well, for me, it might sound silly, but it's definitely my breakfast.
Okay.
So I don't know why, but I'm genuinely very excited for my breakfast every single day. And like the rest of the meals of the day, they feel like routine. But I really look forward to my breakfast for some reason. And on work front, I feel the same level of excitement when there's an idea that we have been brainstorming for weeks. And then when that idea comes alive and the idea has that potential to basically solve real problems
Mm-hmm.
and bring real change. And then finally we get to present that idea on a larger form. That that moment makes my heart feel faster.
That's amazing. It's so interesting. Honestly, I can talk and talk about this all day long. Okay, that's great. Thanks for sharing that. It's always really nice to get to know the person behind the expert. So thank you. And now
Thank
let's
you.
dive right into Temenos testing. So banks depend on Temenos for their core operations, but testing this is far from easy. So, Charu, could you tell me what are the biggest challenges you see banks facing in their Temenos implementations?
Sure. Well, firstly, that is true. Temenos is powerful, but it's also complex.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, most banks struggle with three things. First one is frequent upgrades. So, Temenos releases updates often. And with each upgrade, there is a risk of breaking existing customizations because every bank does customizations on the current Temenos version that they have.
Right.
So, keeping up with that is a difficulty for them. Secondly, is compliance. So every geography, as you can imagine, has its own regulation. and it's ever changing, ever evolving. So keeping up with that is also a challenge.
Right.
And lastly, but I feel that this is the most painful area, which is huge regression footprints. So, like large banks have thousands of test cases.
Mm-hmm.
Running them manually or maintaining brittle test automation with no self-healing capability is actually a very exhausting task. And in fact, it is unachievable. And that's about the challenges. But on top of that, they also have integrations. So, say payments, CRM, risk engine. So, even if they do a small change, that can impact at multiple places. So, the real challenge, in my opinion, is not just testing faster, which actually is a challenge in Temenos area,
Mm-hmm.
but testing smarter and safer as well.
Yeah, I can understand the scale of this challenge because you have so many different changing factors, and
Right.
it's about managing all of them. And yeah, okay.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, just to add to what Charu said, I mean, we have seen scenarios where there was a minor change made to one area of application,
Mm-hmm.
and we we were struggling big time to ensure what kind of regression should we run in order to cover all the impacted areas.
Wow.
So
Okay.
so domain also has a big role to play here, and of course you should be ready with method, automation, manual, domain experts to figure out, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
this being a financial industry, right? Um, we can't screw up with the impacted areas testing.
Absolutely. And I'm just wondering, I mean, this I'll try not to go into too much detail, but how do you go about in terms of the challenges, and is there some sort of prioritization structure here? Or I mean, of course all of them are very important and all of them have to be considered, but what's the thought process when it comes to this?
Uh, See, generally the approach that we take, first of all, the way we have to take baby steps in this regard, because see, it's a product, a
Hmm.
huge product in itself, right? Um, with Temenos Transact being the part of the application where we have been involved a lot.
Hmm.
So the approach that we generally take is to make sure that the requirements are captured and articulated clearly, because that is the food for testing, right?
Yes.
And then we have to make sure that all those requirements are covered in terms of test scenarios and cases.
Hmm.
But we just don't stop there. We also have to make sure that those are basically thoroughly reviewed and prioritized. Because Gurpreet, see, there are many scenarios where we have a time crunch, and generally we are not at the liberty of executing everything.
Hmm.
In that case, we should be in a position to clearly call out what
Yes.
must be tested in this scenario, right? And
Yeah.
those prioritizations, right,
Hmm.
and severity of the scenarios plays a vital role in taking that decision, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
And
Okay, I mean, I definitely
I,
understand the scale of this challenge now, what I want to do is actually zoom out. So, which this actually brings us to now testing as a service, right? So, for our listeners, could you explain what is testing as a service and why is it so relevant for Temenos clients today?
See, testing as a service, or we generally call it TaaS, it brings scalability and specialization into the quality space, right? Since Temenos has a lot of products, right? So instead of building a large fixed QA team, banks can actually consume testing as a flexible service.
Mm-hmm.
For example, if we talk about the vanilla Temenos product or the vanilla T24, that is going to be same across banks.
Right.
And on that, there are customizations based on a particular geography or a
Mm-hmm.
particular bank. So that gives us the flexibility to offer this testing as a service, right? So
Okay.
when we basically, as I told you, like the banks can consume it as a flexible service, they can easily scale up or scale down based on their release cycles. So for Temenos, where change is constant,
Yeah,
TaaS ensures continuous quality while reducing cost, effort, and dependency. So it
I
is not
see.
just outsourcing, it's about embedding predictable quality into transformation programs. And we have spent many years actually in order to figure out how we can bundle it as a service.
Mm-hmm.
So I can tell you, like, it is a right combination of basically practices, processes, protocols, domain knowledge, manual testing, and automation.
Right.
See, like Gurpreet, I'll give you an example of a traffic management system, right? In order to have a effective traffic management system, we have certain rules, we have certain processes, we
Yeah.
have the numbers that we have to dial in case of emergencies, right? And we
Mm-hmm.
have automation as well in terms of
Yeah.
red lights, right? So in order to have a effective traffic management system, we are basically leveraging processes, protocols, manual steps, and automation and certain practices. And testing is also not untouched, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the analogy that I use to explain the testing as a service.
I see. Okay. And and so you've explained testing as a service, right? There's a thorough process behind it. Now, if we look at the fact that there are many providers out there who talk about testing as a service, how would you say Nagaro's approach stands out from its competitors? So I'll let you kick this one off, Charu.
Sure. So, Gurpreet, I believe Nagaro's approach is definitely different from other competitors
Mm-hmm.
because at Nagaro, firstly, it's how we associate with the term TaaS. We don't see TaaS as vendorship, we see it as partners,
Yes.
which means we give more visibility to our clients. Usually, with the term TaaS, clients are usually more skeptical because they think they'll lose control. They'll have
Mm-hmm.
less visibility because somebody else will be managing their testing side. But we make sure that doesn't happen. So we give them that visibility. Secondly, at Nagaro, we believe that automation alone is not the answer. So, like Alok mentioned, our philosophy is very simple. True quality is a blend of manual automation, AI, and deep banking domain knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, we believe in asset sharing, which is currently not happening anywhere else. So let's say other people offering TaaS would where they will provide you their testers, and those testers will basically write manual and automation tests for you. We are not doing just that. We are also sharing reusable assets with our clients. So that makes the ramp up very quick for them. So they already have the baseline test as they sign up with us. So that is the third thing
Yeah.
that is how we are different from others.
Yeah,
So the
and
client is involved at all
Yeah,
steps almost, and it's like they have visibility, complete visibility. There's this shared responsibility element. That's the kind of sense that I'm getting here.
exactly. We
yeah,
keep it very integrated. There are a
Yes.
lot of discussions that happen with client, and we keep them informed about every step.
Okay. And that's a great relationship to have, to be honest with you. I think that's, yeah, spot on. It's how the future project should look like, right? And
yep.
Yeah.
and then governance is also critical in this, right? So, Alok, can you tell me how do you make sure projects across different banks maintain um, consistency whilst they're still being customized?
See, I believe this is one of the very important aspects in this regard. I mean, governance is the key. For example, I'm just taking you back a bit. Once I was talking to someone that, you know what, we are having certain challenges with Temenos testing. How can we fix those? And the fellow was right away telling me, we have a very good automation accelerator.
Mm-hmm.
So many times I have seen, like when we talk about nowadays, because the AI is gaining a lot of attraction, right?
Yes.
There is a belief that it'll solve everything. But again, things like governance, they are very important in the overall journey of implementation. So we apply a maturity-based model, defining clear KPIs, reporting dashboards, and even code review mechanisms,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because even if we are relying on any AI-based accelerator that
Yeah.
is writing code for us, review is so important as we believe that human involvement is important in any aspect of our work where AI is involved. So here as well. And every update or framework improvement in one project is reviewed centrally and then shared across others. So, these things they ensure consistency, reduces risk, and creates a continuous improvement loop across our Temenos portfolio. So,
Okay.
because it being a product, right, there are different geos, as I said,
Mm.
and customers that are making customizations to the product.
Yes.
It is for that we have basically created a centralized structure around code maintenance and how um, the updates from Temenos are actually built into the central code and how we ensure that it does not break our
Yeah.
frameworks that have been shared with various customers, right?
100%. Structure it is absolutely necessary given the different moving parts we have in this industry as well. I think that is the core of it. And if you get that correct and you have that centralized version, then yes, you can go from there.
Yeah.
And you started to touch on the topic of AI, right? Which I find actually very interesting, right? So I'm wondering how does your automation architecture help to accelerate testing?
Well, firstly, Gurpreet, thank you for asking this question because I really wanted to talk about Aura. So
Mm-hmm.
Aura is our test automation accelerator. It
Yes.
stands for AI Unified Regression and Assurance Accelerator. So it's a combination of AI, automation, and making automation accessible for every user, be it technical, non-technical, BA, PO, anyone, project manager. So anybody can run automation. That is what
Okay.
we are trying to do. Now, talking about its feature, firstly, there is self-healing capability. So,
Mm-hmm.
as I mentioned earlier, having brittle test automation cannot work in Temenos space. So, to cater to that, we have kept a self-healing capability in our framework, which will
Mm-hmm.
reduce maintenance cost by up to 60%,
Okay.
right? Because there are frequent changes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Secondly, we have kept a intuitive dashboard like I mentioned, that from where any user, be it non-technical or technical, can run our automation and view integrated detailed test reports and even can see AI insights into defects analysis as well.
On top of that, one very important aspect that we ensure that we are mindful of um, is the language independence of the framework.
Mm-hmm.
Because Temenos is used in different geographies, maybe China, Middle East, Latin America. So
Wow. Yeah.
there are parts of the application that are basically in those languages. So our automation should be intelligent enough, and should not break and
That's
work in multiple geographies.
that is so
Right,
fascinating,
that's really
actually.
important.
Yeah, I didn't think of that actually. The different languages you have, of course. How do you, yeah, right, okay. So how does it work then, like with just on that, right? And then I'll let you continue, Charu. So just on that topic, right? How does it work with the languages? Because I guess English, there'd be an element of the code in English, and then you would have certain segments where it would recognize the language, or is there some sort of different setup here?
You're right. Actually, our framework is capable of recognizing the language that the Temenos is working in,
Right.
currently operating in. And based on that, it takes some values from our configuration and it's configured such way that in that case, our test case will run for that relevant language.
I see. Okay.
Yes, and
That's
yeah,
very
and
interesting.
yes, and on top of that, as part of the front end or web application automation, one of the important aspect is how we are identifying the locators. For example, if we have a send button, how we are identifying that. Are we doing it by text? So we have cautiously avoided uh, relying on text
Mm-hmm.
to identify locators. Instead, we have relied on other properties of the element, for example, be it ID or maybe CSS or others, right?
Yes.
So it's a combination of many different things
Mm-hmm.
that we have been mindful of while ensuring that the framework is language independent.
It sounds like you started with the end in mind, and that's always a good thing. And so it leads perfectly into my next question. Where do you see AI and machine learning playing a role in Temenos testing?
Well, AI is transforming testing from being purely execution focused to
Mm-hmm.
becoming intelligence driven. Earlier, it was completely execution focused, but now it's intelligence driven. So, like if I talk about even Aura, so one of the feature of our Aura is AI powered test case generation, wherein AI assists you to write your automation test scripts. It basically writes automation test scripts for you. So it's automating the automation. So
Right.
that's where yeah, that's where intelligence comes in. And not just that, we also have a feature for recording and optimizing. So like I said, even a non-technical user, let's say your business owner can record a functional workflow, which he is more aware of.
Mm-hmm.
And then our AI solution will optimize it in such a way that it follows the best standards of automation framework and testing standards.
I see. Okay. And so you mentioned automating the automation. I like that.
Yeah.
I think it will catch on. Uh, okay. And so you, with that in mind, so right, like I've mentioned, automating the automation, how do you see the role of human testers changing over the next few years? So given what you've just mentioned, and I'll
Yeah,
pass this one on to Alok.
yeah. So I mean, see, the way it is going, I believe that AI will, take on repetitive testing.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much it has already starts filling into those shoes. But now human testers, I believe, will shift toward strategic assurance.
Right.
So they'll focus more on experience validation, maybe exploratory testing, and aligning quality to business value.
Mm-hmm.
So from I mean, it'll be a big shift in the mindset where a tester was looking at a functionalities test cases that okay, I have to test these 50 test cases and
Mm-hmm.
my regression will be complete. Now these kind of things will be passed on to AI, but now a tester can take a bit higher view where he can see like what will this functionality will add actual some value to the business or not. Maybe do we need these many clicks or not, or maybe more thoughtful ideas
Mm-hmm.
rather than just working like a machine and doing that repetitive execution every time.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's removing that kind of routine element, right? And giving testers the space to think outside of the box, to be like, okay, is this efficient? Is this actually necessary? Is there a different way we could do it?
Yeah. Now, if you ask me to summarize it in one line, I would say the tester's role evolves from executor to a quality strategist.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
just to add on top of that, Gurpreet, I believe it again comes down to our principle, which is automation is not the silver bullet, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
only a human can bring domain expertise, product
Mm-hmm.
knowledge. So we cannot rely on AI for everything, right? Because it's banking, it's even not shared online everywhere. So AI can never have the context that a human can have.
100%. You've got so much deep-rooted knowledge, right? And that's years and years worth of knowledge as well. I think to work in this type of an industry and be able to factor all of that in. So, like you said, AI wouldn't be able to capture that sentiment, let's say.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we've covered testing as a service. And now I'm curious as to whether we have an example we could share around how it's impacted a client or how it could impact a client as they continue to mature. So do you have any case study on that?
See, we have started introducing our testing as a service framework into the Temenos arena. But in one of the recent exercises that we did for one of the customers, right? Um, we had someone struggling with multi-country regression, taking about 12 weeks per cycle.
Right.
And by bringing in a combination of TaaS and Aura, we brought that down to under 4 weeks. And that
Okay.
too with 40% effort saving and around 80% of test reuse. So that's the power of combining automation, domain expertise, and service-based flexibility. So whenever we are basically increasing the automation coverage, bringing more scenarios under the automation umbrella, there is always a domain expert standing next to us,
Yeah.
telling us that whether it makes sense to bring this into automation. Because see, all the automation is resource intensive nowadays, especially when we talk about a product where you might end up executing many thousand tests together. So you need to be very mindful, like how we are using our resources, right?
Absolutely.
So, so I think the beauty of it is that everyone in the TaaS ecosystem is equally important, be it manual tester, be it a business analyst or domain expert or SME, and the automation engineer as well, and the AI expert. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so obviously those are very impressive numbers as well. Now, on the flip side of that, right, if a bank does have limited automation or the maturity isn't quite there, can they still adopt this?
Absolutely. So TaaS is not a one size fits all solution. It's an evolving solution. So we help banks start small and then scale. So
Right.
let's say if we begin with manual testing, like I said, by using our reusable L1 assets. Then we introduce partial automation, and then gradually we mature towards fully AI-driven testing.
Okay.
So it's not a one-step thing, it's a process of evolution.
I see. And how, so then you mentioned starting small and then scaling, right? How does that work with tier one banks or smaller regional banks? Do you tend to apply the same approach there?
Yeah, actually, our TaaS model will work in both the scenarios, right? So it's in fact the biggest strength of our TaaS model. So for larger banks, let's say we use our more evolved solutions. We bring in strong governance, centralized regression coverage, and our AI-powered accelerator, Aura, that helps them manage their complex and large-scale automation with self-healing and dashboarding capabilities. But if it comes to smaller bank, we make it super easy for them to start. So
Right.
they can use our pre-built L1 and L2 test assets to quickly to just get started with their baseline versions. And then over time, we scale them with automation and finally bring them to AI powered solutions.
And that's great, I think, because the process seems less daunting, especially for a smaller bank trying to get into this space and start to adopt this. I think if they have that baseline to go with and then they can tailor as they go along, I think it's a great starting point.
Yeah, definitely. The model flexes with their size.
Yeah. Okay, so that sounds great then. So we've kind of talked a lot about testing as a service. We've spoken about some of the challenges and we've spoken about how AI plays into that. So let's move on to the benefits. So obviously there's huge cost benefits here, right? But beyond the cost, what do the strategic benefits look like?
Well, but you rightly pointed out, like cost savings are often the first thing that people talk about. But the real value is speed and stability. So TaaS gives banks faster time to market, stronger compliance coverage, and frees up internal teams to focus on innovation and customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the highlight when you bring a framework like TaaS that tries to leverage or improve different aspects of testing rather than just focusing on maybe AI or automation. I can tell you, even if you implement tests, I can assure you there will be some testing all the time that will be manual.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not about eliminating manual or adopting automation, but optimizing quality.
Yes. Yes. And like you said, freeing up those resources to focus on innovation.
Exactly. And if now you talk about misconceptions, we come across those pretty much every day. Like
Mm-hmm.
many people believe that you need full automation before adopting tests. See, many times that that is a cliche, I would say, because we are trying to cover all the issues in the life cycle of testing by just believing that automation will solve all the problems.
Yes. Yes.
But
It's
yeah, but that's not true. You can start at any maturity level, right? And I would say, contrary to that, if you have something greenfield, better it is.
yes.
It is a bit tricky to kind of fix something that is already screwed rather than starting afresh. Um, Another myth or misconception is that you lose control. So we
Mm-hmm.
actually improve visibility with, as Charu mentioned, transparent dashboards and governance. And you know what? Again, TaaS is not designed in a way where we will just go in and implement something. No, because one size doesn't fit all.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to get into constructive conversations,
Yes.
identify the maturity level or of the quality for a customer, because that also varies based on the engagement that we are dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it is always something that is joint. So that's why we emphasize on the fact that TaaS is flexible,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's another, and the third thing that I want to talk about, that I think you touched upon that point, that it's only for large banks. So I believe that smaller banks benefit the most because they can access enterprise grade quality without huge setup costs.
That's true,
If
actually.
that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. The larger banks almost have considered things at a larger scale,
Yeah,
and you then have smaller banks who benefit from that because, yeah, I mean, they've got all of those factors considered already, and it's only implemented at a smaller scale.
that's how it is. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, and so let's move on then. My my final question here, right? And it's around how you see the testing landscape evolving, right? So we know banks are moving more and more towards Temenos, software as a service, and cloud. So how do you see the future of testing?
See, I believe with these transitions, testing will become more continuous and environment agnostic. So
Hmm.
being environment agnostic, uh, we don't have any choice. We have to work that way,
Yeah,
right? And we'll see that cloud native test platforms, integrated AI driven analytics, and automation test pipelines, they'll be delivering quality at the speed of change. It is very important that as quality analysts, we are sitting there as sniper, watching every move, what's happening in the Temenos arena, and quickly able to adapt and deliver.
right. Okay. And then one more question, one final question. I promise this is the last one. Uh, so first of all, what excites you most about the future of testing then? So I'll ask Charu. to take this?
Sure. So I think what really excites me about the future of testing is how testing is moving from beyond just finding defects. Earlier it was about that, but now it's becoming a really real value enabler, right? And
Yeah.
with AI and platforms like Aura, we are seeing testing evolve into something far more intelligent, where insights drive faster releases, better compliances, and ultimately a smoother experience for our end customer.
Mm-hmm.
And personally, I also love how it's bringing people closer. So like so now, for example, our solution can be run by any user, be it technical, BA, or product owner, even the business user. Anybody can run it, and they can combinedly they can decide on look into the quality that they have for their product.
Yeah.
So it's human plus AI working together.
Great. Thank you for sharing that. And Alok, what's your take on this?
Well, the future is continuous, cloud native, and AI driven. AI is going to be part of our every breath going forward when we talk about testing. So we'll see more autonomous test pipelines, real time analytics, and continuous assurance across every environment. That's how I see it.
Sounds very exciting. It's definitely been a rich conversation from the challenges of Temenos testing to the opportunities of testing as a service and then the exciting future of AI-driven quality. So Alok and Charu, thank you so much both for joining us today.
Thank you, Gurpreet. Thank you, Alok.
Thank you, Gurpreet.
It was a pleasure being here.
It was
Yeah.
great to have you. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. If you'd like to learn more about how Nagarro helps banks accelerate their Temenos journey with testing as a service, then please do reach out to Charu and Alok. And finally, on our next episode, we'll be discussing AI in testing, so stay tuned.